Welcome back to another episode of Can't Take Your Call Right Now with me, Lauren Reeves.
And me, Harry Monkhouse.
We're back. We're back for our new format. I don't think we've got a jingle yet. We haven't quite figured that bit out, but we'll get there. We'll get a jingle.
That keeps me up at night way more than I care to imagine, or care to admit, sorry. That I have been sitting there thinking, do this. I still love my idea about it being some form of hold music that a lot of the BDRs that are probably listening have to listen to. But yeah, there needs to be something in there, but I need to figure it out.
We'll get there. But Harry, tell me, we've had feedback to be rapid on this bit, so let's see if we can do it. Tell me about your week, Harry, nice and quickly.
Week's been good. We'll come on to a little bit, but was at a BDR kind of pipeline conference last week, which was really cool. The Aurum and Nooks team were over, so grabbed a coffee and grabbed some lunch and some dinner with those guys, networked with a load of new people, which was great. And then I've just been hammering the golf course as well, which I played some of the worst rounds of golf I've ever played. And I am not
golf is so humbling.
Yeah, I'm not best pleased. But in good news, I bought a golf bag to say, well done, you shot a really bad round, which arrives hopefully, I think, tomorrow.
That is stunning work. I'm so pleased.
Nice little treat for myself. How about you?
Nice little treat. It's been a standard week in the sense of it's just been at work. Pretty chill weekend, saw some friends, which was nice. Didn't go to the conference, didn't know it was happening. I missed that one. So next
until
time
you got the message from me.
Yeah, and then I got a load of you messaging me like, hey, where are you? And I was like, I'm at work, mate. Didn't even know it was happening. But I'll make sure I'm at the next one. And then I didn't order a golf bag, but I did order 48 loo rolls. So...
Oh, is that from that, don't give a crap company?
No, it is, but it's not that one. It's a different one. I was just reading a bunch of reviews, and apparently these ones are much softer.
Okay.
So I don't know. I'll give you a review. Let's see if I like them.
Yeah. I can't wait for that review, and I'm sure so can the listeners.
You know what I mean? Why not? That's real adult. You bulk order toilet roll. So that's me.
I do that with shower gel though.
Well, there you go. So, and now we're at end of quarter, and I can happily say that I did hit my target last week. So I'm not in that panic stage, which is nice. I haven't got to sort of go into the last few days of the quarter, which is good. Team done really, really well. So yeah, looking forward to stepping into Q2 actually, which is what we're going to talk about a bit today. How to actually set up for your next quarter and start strong and all of that stuff. Because I think have a good start, the rest sort of takes care of itself. But yeah, not too bad, Harry.
Well, congratulations on hitting target.
Thank you very much.
Never easy.
No, I always say I'm very lucky to have a really ambitious, hardworking team that don't settle for less either. I think that's hard to come by. That comes in good hiring. And I'm pleased to say that I've not figured it out, but I'm very close to figuring out how to hire good, which means that when you get
a cultural thing as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I'm very fortunate in that sense that I just have a team that just really want to be good. I don't have anyone that just thinks, oh, can't be bothered, which is, rare. I think you always tend to have a couple of people in your team that are just there because it's a job. And I don't have that, which is really nice. It makes my job.
Yeah, I mean, from a planning perspective, I think most things, I think we spoke about it recently, is you predict about 80% of your reps hitting 80%. That's how you basically forecast from a planning perspective. So you're always going to have some star performers and some low performers. By the way, have you ever done a 9-box exercise with your team? Or is it leadership?
I've done it before because I remember you told me about that ages ago. I've always done C player, B player, A player.
Yeah.
But you did tell me about the 9-box, and I did that, but I've not done it probably in at least a year. I had so many new starters in the back end of Q3, so I should do it again actually now that I've actually got a team that have been around for at least 6 months.
Yeah. So if you're wondering what a 9-box is, essentially think about it. Literally 9 boxes, so a 3x3, and it's high performance is along the bottom and high potential is along the top. So you've got those two as the different axes, and then what you do is if you've been there under 6 months, what you tend to happen is you fit into the middle category. So you're middle performance and middle potential, unless you're doing something really, really fucking wrong. Like where you normally would get moved out of the middle if you were going to fail your probation, depending on whether you're a 3 or 6 month. Like, for example, my reps, it's a 6-month probationary period. For some reps, I think your team is what, 3?
Yeah, it's 3, but I think 6 months is right for BDR, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Just because the ramp time tends to take a little bit longer. But again, this isn't something that you can go and ask your manager being like, hey, where am I on the 9 box? That's not the exercise. But from a leadership standpoint, what we do here is we start to work out where you are within that criteria. And essentially what you've got a lot of the time is the people that get promoted are normally high middle, or high. And it tends to be those upper echelons that tend to get promoted. And then it's about forecasting risk. So something that as a manager, what you'll tend to do is your boss's boss or your boss might say, okay, paint me a picture of your team within a 9 box. Okay, you've got some people that are in like low, medium, or low. Are we planning on trying to phase these people out? Or are we planning to put a coaching plan together? And that's how you start to plan it. So again, you can do it from a rep perspective. What's really interesting is you could do a 9 box on what you think your peers are and where you think you rank against your peers. But again, I don't think it's necessarily a full-blown exercise to do as a rep level, but it is super interesting when you get to leadership and thinking about looking at that to work out where your talent is and where your strengths are.
Yeah, and then the A, B, C players, pretty similar. You've got your A players who are your ones that you can rely on. They consistently will achieve their targets. They will do anything you ask. You've got to think about them. B players are the ones that can be a bit up and down, but tend to lean more towards the good, but they need extra work. And then you've got your C players, which are the ones that you cannot rely on, etc. And again, it just is to help you figure out where you should spend your time and who you need to be coaching, training, who you need to think about performance managing, that sort of thing.
Yep, 100%. What a good thing to go and ask is just, I think that A, B, and C is a lot more like a much easier criteria, I think, to probably understand. Again, just side note from an interview standpoint, right? You go and ask, like, if I was interviewing for you, Lauren, and I wanted to be in your BDR team, it'd be like, okay, what characteristics do A players show within your team? And then a closing question might be like, have I demonstrated any of those to you today as part of this interview process? Like, that would be a great question to go and ask.
Great, that's good. I like it.
Thanks, Lauren.
He's like, yeah, I've been around the block. I know how to interview.
I wish. I feel like I'm shit at interviewing.
What, as in being the candidate?
Yeah. I just feel like a lot of the time I just think like interviewing is just so fake. I just think this, honestly, it is so easy to lie as a candidate, I think. And if you've got the gift, again, I think a lot of people say that they can smell bullshit from a mile away, but I do think there is a world where if you're well prepped and you've got the gift of the gab and you know how to sell things, and people also like the perspective, like we talk about this all the time, like people have a preconceived idea of is because we post on LinkedIn about us, and it is sometimes it is so comical. Like I had, again, I feel like this is blowing smoke up my own ass. I really don't. I'm not trying to do that at all, and it's making me it's quite cringy. But there was definitely people at the event that I met that I was just like, oh, I don't remember someone's name. And it, like I was saying, like Sam Nelson, who puts it all on. Again, he's been in the game for a long, long time. People know him.
Yeah.
I could see there were moments where, like, when someone goes in, they're like, oh, hi, Sam. And Sam's just like, I haven't got a clue who you are. I don't know what company you are. Like, you're like, it is just like, there are moments like that. So people come in some preconceived ideas that you're this expert and stuff like that, but it comes back to that. You can bullshit your way through
I've been to events and people have been like, hey, how are you? I haven't seen you in ages. And I literally looking at them like, I've got no idea when I met you.
Please tell me your name badge is turned around in the right way.
I know, it's so bad. And again, I feel so guilty because like I am not important enough to not remember your name. Like, I hate that I forget people's names.
Yeah.
I'll know a face. Normally I'll look at your face and I'm like, we've met. I know you. But
Yeah.
I just can't place you at all.
I'm so bad with names as well.
Yes.
Like it's
so
something
guilty
that
for it though.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's so
that's
bad.
us. We'll just say famous and popular now. That's what happens when you get a podcast. So
I hope that never happens.
Okay, but back to the topic at hand. So end of quarter, start of the next quarter. Like we're talking about, you think about your performers as a manager, you think about where people are at. As a rep, what can you do to actually set yourself up for success when it goes into the next quarter? I think there's a few avenues here. Obviously, it depends on how you're set up. For example, for my team, my company, they are given their accounts. So the first thing they're doing is not searching for accounts. They have them. Whereas you might be a rep that has to go and actually look for your account. So that's going to have an impact on obviously what you do at the start of the quarter. So there's that element. But after that, say you've got your accounts, you've searched them. Now it's about, okay, how do I work these accounts properly to then make the most? What's the first thing that you recommend?
What, when I think about like breaking down those accounts?
Yeah.
We're a little bit different in the way that we're set up, right? Because we have huge territories. Like we're different to you, where you get given your accounts and stuff like that. Like we have people owning whole countries, like multiple countries. So I have some reps that have 25,000 accounts.
Yeah.
So for us, it's not about going into those accounts and breaking stuff down. We basically got 11 to 13 different plays that will be running in parallel of each other at any given time. And it's whether people have entered that criteria of that play.
Okay, so how do you prioritize that? Do you have like a tiering system? Do you go off revenue? Like how would your reps pick their like top 100?
Yeah, so we have an ICP criteria within like a certain amount of employee size that we focus on as the primary point that gets overlaid across the whole of their prioritization dashboard. But essentially we have basically different teams. So we have a team that is responsible for dealing with new business and inbound, and we have a team that is responsible for customer base, and then we have a team that is kind of a mix of everything. And as part of that, so you have different priorities. So if you've got to be dealing with inbound, then of course that needs to be the first thing taken off the dashboard. But some of the secondary plays from a new business or an expansion play, you could have different plays that you would need to go into. Like a prime example would be like if you're a new business rep, like a close lost or past MQLs or something like that. And what we do is let's say they've got 12 plays, we categorize what are your top 4, what are your secondary 4, and what are your third 4, right? And then it's about, okay, how many of those top 4 plays are going to be always on, like you're constantly actioning, and then there's going to be ones that accounts fall into those criteria. It might be like, hey, this kind of trigger happened, or we got this piece of data, and that's how they fall into those plays. Again, I don't feel like I can share everything because it's probably a very different strategy to how our competitors work. But like a prime example of like a trigger that might happen at some point, like if someone was following our company on LinkedIn, or an executive change job roles, or we had a past customer, like that could be a trigger. That's more of like our account and lead trigger point of view. But like we have a very similar concept, but an account level. So whether you think about that from a scoring perspective or something like that, and that's how they go and break down their territory. So, but to your point, if I was in your shoes of doing that, I think you do need to tier. How many accounts do your reps get, roughly?
300.
Hundreds? 300. So if, again, are your territories aligned to those 300? Is it the same for the AEs, or is it a different 300?
Yeah, so we've got quite an odd setup in that you've got one BDR assigned to an AE, but an AE has 2 BDRs. So each BDR gets given 300 accounts.
Which is just half of the AE's territory, basically.
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
We don't really do territory by, e.g., like postcodes or anything like that. They're just given, like we do it by like country. So all the UK reps do the UK and a little bit of Europe.
Yeah.
US example. Whereas I know that some places will break it down by like postcode and so forth.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah, we used to have postcode down to like streets and stuff like that when I was first
I've
starting
done that
out.
before as well. We haven't had to go that granular. So an AE basically has 600 accounts. BDR has 300. The other BDR has the other 300. And they work those for 6 months. And then they can do an account refresh.
Okay, so I think very simply, as part of that, I would be breaking down probably, if I have 300 accounts, probably like your top 25, then your secondary 75, and then your rest. So whether you call that tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, or priority 1, 2, and 3, but I'd be breaking that down. Now, I think what happens, I tend to see, and you might disagree with me on this, reps have an extreme bias to certain things that they see. So there's a familiarity with logos that tends to be one of the biggest bias, and that is probably true, maybe because of selling in e-com as well, especially like you're saying, oh my god, Lululemon, like I would love to work with Lululemon. Like imagine if I closed Lululemon or got an opportunity there. It's not actually the most sophisticated way to be selecting your accounts is based on sales gut instinct. So I would be working out, okay, from last quarter across all of my AEs, what would tend to be the right ICPs? Now, you've already been assigned probably ICP accounts, but there might be a particular line size, or there might be a particular trend that you can hang your hat on. Well, we actually closed, now I'm trying to think, we closed Timberland, I don't know, last year or last quarter. And Timberland or Timberlands, oh God, Timberland or Timberlands.
Doesn't matter.
Anyway, we know the company, right? But we'd probably say that they're a slightly niche shoe brand. But we could probably potentially use a similar talk track of what some of the challenges that they were having based on maybe headquartered or something like that we can then take to another company. So if we can find some of those mini trends, that might select our top 25. But the AE should be selecting the top 25. Then it's probably a partnership on the next 75. And then the rest is your approach. And I think you align with your AE, and again, you might do this differently. Your P1s and your P2s where you have true alignment. Your P1 is where you're super strategic and you build out a full plan, like a proper, here's how I'm going to do it. Here are the people we're going to target. Here's the messaging we're going to deliver. This P2s is like, okay, we're going to maybe do a little bit more of a slightly more generic message, but like the approach will probably remain the same. We might do some level of personalization, but we're nowhere near going to spend the amount of time that we would on a P1s. And then your P3s as a BDR is just about going through those methodically when you have the spare time to build up the volume.
To be honest, that's pretty much the strategy that I teach. Pretty much. I feel like there's really only a few ways to do this right. So it'd be weird if I said, no, Harry, you're completely wrong.
No, it could be. It could be. There's loads. I think there are different ways of doing it.
Oh, of course. But I'm always going to be a quality over quantity. I don't want you spamming your accounts. I don't want you just like pushing out a load of random shitty outbound for the sake of getting outbound out. That's just a waste. No, don't do that. So it is basically what you said. So I expect them to pick their tier 1 top accounts, their dream accounts, I call them. Like, what are your golden accounts? What are the ones when you book them, you're going to be like, I'm so good at my job. Like your AE is going to be like, buy you pints. It's going to be like a great day. What are those accounts? And I always say pick between 20 to 30 of those. So basically. Then you're going to then think about, okay, what are my accounts that I want to personalize and I want to put some effort into, but they're not my golden accounts. Again, you might only have sort of like 25, 30 of those. Then you've got your next bracket, which is where you put personalized messaging in, but you're a bit more automated now. Like you're kind of pre-writing all the emails, getting them in, letting them kind of go out pretty automated. And then you've got your tier 3s, which are just the accounts that you just get going, nice little automated sequences happening in the background there, get in touch on a regular basis, but they'd be a really small deal. They're not like the dream ones, they're there. And that's basically like what I teach. I think similar to what you were saying, I think one mistake I see all the time is picking your top brands based on whether or not you like the brand. that does not mean they want to buy from you. That does not mean that they are our perfect customer. Like, I think it's so easy to be blinded by what you think is going to be really cool.
We're our own worst.
All done.
Again, coming from Sixth Sense, right, where this was literally part of the way that we would sell the product, is like account biased is one of the biggest killers in sales. Like, I've gone into businesses where I've consulted the businesses where we went through their top accounts and each rep had to like pick 10, and there was no data to back that these accounts would ever close. So like they had 10 AEs, they were all selecting 10 accounts. They had never ever closed an account of any of the logos or any of the size. So it's like so far removed, but it's like, hey, we want to do like an enterprise level motion. Okay, so what is your marketing strategy going to change as part of that? How are you going to treat them any different? How are you going to run an account-based approach to them? And they were just not equipped to be able to sell to those accounts because they hadn't got either like the full go-to-market strategy set up to complete that, or it was like they would treat this, they would do the same outreach as they would do to a 10,000 person company to a 2,000 person company. And that just doesn't work. It's all about when you go up into those type of markets, it's all about fact finding and it's all about delivering value. So if you can go and quantify or qualify things that maybe the person that you need to get in touch with doesn't know, or explain how you have helped another customer potentially solve those challenges, that is a critical thing that people might listen to. So really interesting.
Yeah. So I think that's the first thing. So stepping into the quarter, pick your top accounts with a strategy behind them. Don't just pick the ones you think are cool and then you'd like to shout about the fact you booked. Genuinely pick the ones that you know you can book, fit your ICP, and will probably be a nice big deal at the same time. That's the creme de la creme. Once you've sorted out your accounts and you've broke them down, that's when you start stepping into strategy. I know, Harry, you build out so many different sequences and like plays and all of that. I think mine is so minor in comparison. Like we literally have probably like 8, whereas I imagine you've got like 25 or something ridiculous.
I've got 38.
There you go. You see, so different.
Well, it's different, right? Because I'd go for less, but we're set up with like, our average deal size is much smaller. So we are having like, I don't know what quantity that your team need to do, but like we've got reps that need to go and do like 30, 40 meetings to go and hit the revenue or pipeline goals as part of their kind of like secondary KPIs that we're not targeting them on that. They're aware of it. Which is probably very different to some of the other, even from previous businesses I've worked at. Like my average deal size as an AE when I was at Sixth Sense was 55K. Like I only needed to close like 3-4 deals a month or a quarter to be able to go and hit some of the numbers. That's why we've broken it down. And again, if a rep is managing 20,000 accounts versus 300, there's going to be a very, very different level of quantity and focus. So I am thinking about scaling some of the other criterias down. But yeah, it also comes to the fact that I think what you're really good at coaching about and your strengths is around like that personalisation, that feel. And I'm incredibly poor at that. I would say where my strength is I'm a real tech nerd. So like building end-to-end like sequence strategies and trigger points that happen within that, like the sophistication of my architecture of our go-to-market is probably is more sophisticated or more mature.
I love a sequence because it's good and it's helpful and it means you don't forget to send an email. But if I could have my reps sit and write all their emails and never forget to send one, and it would be personalized pretty much every time, and they could still do the scale they needed, I would 100% have them do that.
And I'd get lost in the data of like, how do I get like a UTM identifier within hyperlinks so that we can look at marketing attribution or BDR attribution to trial impact. on website visits so that I can say like, hey, here's, So it's like,
shit.
So again, I think there's pros and cons to both. I definitely get lost in the detail, and you're more thinking about like the impact that has on the number.
Yeah. But I think the point is that figure out the plays that work for you and your team. And that is as simple as going and looking at the most successful sequences that have been built, that had the highest reply rates and the highest meeting books. Go and look at if you have a tool that shows you the hot point calendar time zone bit, you know what I mean? Like when you're calling and like the best times to call.
Do you believe in that? Genuinely.
I do, but I don't. I do in some way. However, I think the data gets really skewed because there are days that my team favor dialing. So when you look at the data,
really?
Yeah. So my team,
and individual like as in the individual favors a certain day, or as in.
So as a team, we do a lot of calling on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Don't know why, but that's the days my team tend to lean into.
And sorry, question on this. So when you say they lean into, what would be a standard KPI that you would set in regards to calling?
So they're set 200 a week.
200 a week. And your ask is that they manage that 200 over the week.
Yeah, how they do.
So what would an average rep do on a Monday?
Oh, fuck all most of the time. That's my point. Like most of my reps are doing like maybe 20. Like they'll do a sprint, and again, it depends where we're at in the quarter. It's on the start of the quarter. I barely see a pickup on a Monday. As we get further into the quarter, that's when they start getting better. But then what that means is that if you looked at my Monday data, it will say that calling Monday 10 to 11 is a really good time to call because there's been like 10 calls done. And like,
and the high connect rate,
That's not real data to go off. I can't actually make it say that calling Monday 10 to 11 is a good time to dial when no one's really calling then. Like it's just been a bit of luck in the future. And that's my point.
No, I totally get that. Again, mine is completely skewed in the fact that I've got all time zones calling. Like we actually we have an hour break like every 24-hour of my cycle where there's a rep not calling.
You're completely across all time zones, aren't you?
Four or five time zones. So that can be different. Again, you can isolate it into like when is the best time in your
teams, etc. But I think it's a good starting point. I think it's a good thing to look at if you're trying to think. And look at your own data. You haven't necessarily got to look at the teams, but look at when you're finding the most success. But also ask yourself those questions. Am I leaning into the same call blocks? Do I keep calling at the same time every week on every day? Because if you are, mix it up. Like change up your routine a little bit. Try something new.
Yeah, so I actually think about that maybe just a little bit different. So the way I do that analysis from the heat map perspective is I look at, so my motto to everyone is win the hour, win the day, win the week. So if you win the hour, so you get ahead of things, then you can win the day. You can win the day, then you win the week. So it's all about like micro wins. And we discuss, so again, I do this review all the time, but if I look at the heat map and I can see, so for example, if I use what you've just shared, so I got a rep that's doing 20 calls on a Monday, and then they go and do 50, 50, 50, so that takes me up to, or 50, 50, and then we've got another 20, and then that takes them up to the rest. They do loads on Friday. What I tend to find is I would look at that and be like, okay, for me, there's an organic, like, again, I'm not trying to critique some of your reps here, but like for me, I would look at that as like there's a lack of preparation.
Oh no, completely agree.
No, yeah. So for me, I would use the heat map to go, okay, you do your calls in the afternoon. So you wait for your morning to do your prospecting. Okay, so how many people? So we would then look at per hour ratio of calling, prospecting to calling. So I get reps to lock themselves in a room and then say, okay, almost like fight for your life. How many people could you actually go and prospect in an hour? And we define what prospecting means, whether that's a case of, okay, so you've prospected and you've actually done the research, you've taken the notes and stuff like that, or it's a case of just downloading people and pumping people into sequence. But it can work out. I had one particular rep. We found out that they got to Friday and they did 50% of their week on Friday from a DAR perspective.
Right.
So then what we did is I did an analysis back, and again, you can look at this in the multiple different ways, but we found out what we then did is we started to track what they did from a morning and an afternoon and stuff like that. Basically super ineffective at the start of the week, which then caused anxiety around like, oh my God, like I've already lost a day, a 2 day. Oh my God, I'm chasing the week. Like you never want to chase the week. So that's why I always say, like, my reps probably do a little bit the opposite. Like I'd say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are like super high days. Like one girl today who's done about 70, 80 calls to start her week. So she's ahead of the week.
I completely agree with this approach. And I tell my reps about this. I say it all the time. I like front load your week. Start the week strong. If you can start the week really strong, then by the time it gets end of the week, you're like, oh, I actually feel really good because I had such a good start of the week.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens for about 3 weeks, and they just go back to their old habits every time.
Well, you've got a dialer in place as well, so I feel like it's going to be really interesting. We'll talk about this on another episode. So we look like we should have a dialer coming in, hopefully. Well, we start this week.
Okay.
And I am pretty confident that I'm going to have my team are going to be making 1,000 dials a week based at where we're at. And I am challenged
that though because you've got thousands of accounts, whereas my reps literally cannot do that. They've got 300 accounts. Like it's just impossible for them to do that.
I wonder, again, comes back from we'll talk a little bit about the pipeline event because there's some really, really cool takeaways that I'd like to share with some of the listeners. But there's I think if you took how many reps have you got in the UK now?
15.
I think you could take a pilot team of 3 and say like, what would, like, if we gave you another double, if we gave you 600 accounts, could we, again, you do your tier 1, your tier 2, your tier 3, but then you've got tier 4. So that, again, they wouldn't enter criteria for tier 1 and tier 2. I wonder if you said like, hey, if we gave you more, could you do more? Because it's one of those.
This is where me and you always sync because we are bang on. I'm already saying this, so this is where our synergy just.
But that's what I'd be going testing with a pilot team for like a month, and then do almost like a rerun and then a rerun, and then you've got a quarter amount of data because again, I'm trying to get to 1,000. I'm pretty confident within the first week of the pilot we'll be able to double. So again, my reps are targeted on 250 to 300 calls. So I reckon we'll be able to get up to 600 calls. My biggest automation flow that we need to go and get is create. Like, how do we fill the top of the funnel to get 1,000? But yeah, I honestly believe that I could get a rep doing to 2,000 to 3,000 calls a week, and I'm wanting to see if we could do that. Like, I just want to. I said to the company that we'll go with, I said, I want to break like some form of record in a pilot about something to do with dials. Like, I want there to be some crazy statistic. Like you imagine like the case study, this like LastPass achieved X dial volume and booked like X amount of millions. So like I got some like crazy initiatives within the pilot, and then we're gonna do this crazy like sequence thing. I hung my hat on. I gave the analogy of like Sam Nelson was the guy that created the Agoji sequence, and I would say the Agoji sequence became the most popular sequence in the market.
Agreed.
Like, I remember downloading that shit immediately, and like,
me too. Yeah,
everything became the Agoji sequence. I think I renamed it the koala sequence. I mean, me and you both.
It's the blueprint to how a lot of the sequences I build are built anyway.
100%. So I said to the CRO, I said I want to be the guy that comes up with the dialer Agoji sequence. Like that is my sole mission.
Okay.
Is to become this guy that creates how we think about sequencing with dialers. Okay. And because I don't think anyone's done it yet. But
okay, we'll see where we're at. But to wrap up this segment, I think the key with kicking off your quarter really strongly is going to literally lay in how you manage your accounts and how you strategize them. the sequences, the cadences, whatever you bloody call them, how you set them up and the plays you build off of it, and then making sure you utilize your time and your calendar effectively. If you get those 3 things down really quick at the start of your quarter and you're not faffing for the first 2 to 3 weeks, then you'll be fine. That's people fail. They faff and they don't get cracking fast enough. So
100%.
Just get those things up and then I think you'll be okay.
And then there's one final thing that I do think you need to go and do. If your manager isn't doing this, you can take it upon yourself to do it. Just figure out your little scorecard. So like, how many calls does it take you to have to get to a connect? How many connects does it take you to have a positive conversation? How many positive conversations does it take to get a meeting? How many emails do you send to get like open rates to reply rates to positive reply rates to meeting booked, all of that? Yeah. And then also something that I've just done with the team. So we're doing 2 parts. How many accounts does it take to create an opportunity? So how many unique accounts did you touch in Q1? And how many opportunities you create? You just divide the 2, right? And then you can work out, it takes me 10 accounts to get an opportunity. What's your multi-threaded percentage? So how multi-threaded are you in that account? So I've got reps ranging from 1.5 to 3, essentially. So if you're average, you kind of want to be in, again, depending on the size of sale that you have, like, again, you want to probably benchmark yourself within the team or just try and work out with your manager. But also, how many people does it take for you to, unique records does it take for you to touch in order to book a meeting? Because then that, from a psychological standpoint, if you were to say to me, Lauren, like, hey, your conversion rate is you have to contact uniquely, regardless of how many times you touch them, you just have to touch 100 people to get to a meeting. I would know every week that I need to touch uniquely like 400 people to hit my target. Again, an extreme version, but that from a psychological standpoint, and then that is something that you can work towards of like, how do I get that down? There's going to be some skills within there that you can speak to your manager. Like, my conversion rate from positive conversation to meeting booked is only 5%. Okay, so there's something to do with how you're closing or the low discovery, because you're having the conversations, your talk time is there.
Nice. Love that. Okay, let's step into the next bit. Harry, talk to us about the pipeline conference. What was your top tip?
Let me get the big notebook up, because I took a shit ton of notes. So big thank you to Aurum for getting me there. They helped me secure a ticket last minute and stuff like that. So super helpful. Again, there's not too many like day events for BDR managers. Like, we are a very lonely, like, unique breed of like sales manager. So it was really refreshing to just hear from BDR managers for literally a whole day. There was loads and loads and loads of notes that I took, but let me give you kind of like my top 3 things that I took away from it. My first thing was that again, we talk about this a lot. Anyone that wants to go into BDR management is probably one of, I feel like, I don't know if the same for you, but it's one of the most lonely gigs, I think, from a sales management perspective. AE managers, there's always more AE managers than there are to BDR managers. So again, even at some of the biggest companies, like I was speaking to a BDR manager, they have like 70, 90 BDRs. There's still only like 7 managers globally. Like, it's still, like, compared to like the AE managers, which is like 250 AEs, and there's like, they have 6 per pod. So they think about how many managers, tons of managers. So I felt very, very excited about being a BDR manager, and I feel like that was very needed for me. Again, it's not that I was not feeling being a BDR manager, but it was like one of those where I was like, oh, we actually do really help. And like, I feel very excited about taking some stuff. Yuri, I can't remember your last name, so I do apologize, but he did a really, really interesting talk. So he did this belt system, and it's like I think jiu-jitsu, but it's like white belt, blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, black belt. He had a couple more colors in there, but he does some really, really cool things of like, you need to deliver certain outcomes. Like, you need to deliver like 1 million in pipeline and this much in close one revenue. Once you get to that, you get upgraded to the next one. And like his like latter belt is like, if you deliver like 600K in close one revenue for the company, you automatically go to a brown belt and we'll just give you a $4,000 payout. And then like the black belt is like 1.5 1.2. I'll send you the picture of his slides.
Okay, yeah.
But he has criterias. So it's not a promotion scale. It's not like senior BDR and anything like that. There are certain outcomes that you have to produce, whether that's activity, whether that's like, I was even thinking like, once you've like hit target 3 months in a row from target, you automatically become the next rep. So I was really thinking about like what would be my new criteria. I fucking like, I loved that. Like it's a game inside. And he was talking about he has taken the average rep time and seat from like, I think it was like 14 months, 15 months up to like 22 months, because he's gamified the role so much, and his retention is all
staying in it.
Yeah, and his retention is almost like 100%.
Yeah.
And they do like, once you get to like a certain point, like you get like £4,000 to like do self-learning, and then you get put on this like academy program where you get to go and spend time with the teams that you want. And then there's again, it's a super sophisticated career path model, but like I really like that, and I was like, right, I need to be thinking about that.
Okay, love that.
A couple of other things, a couple of notes for me was like, how do I get the team like energized a little bit more and like get stuff flowing? So again, give my team lead more responsibility, like create like self bingo. So like, I think we've all played BDR bingo. I have never played it with my team though. I've not done that yet, but I think we've not been able to record calls, so it's a little bit harder. But you have like 6 standard bingo things that happen, and then like the reps get to add a new one each week. Like, so each rep gets to add one, and then it's about who can go and win that. But I want to spiff that a little bit. We just kicked off our objection handling wheel. So we have 2 wheels of the rep's name and the objection. And then it spins on a Monday morning, and you get picked, and you've got to handle the objection live. And again, it's to put a little bit of pressure in front of you against everyone. And then we talk about it. And that's just how we got the brain going this morning, which I really loved. And a couple of other things. There was a couple of other notes, I think probably sell for me, which was like, do I always believe that the reps should retain the information that I've taught them? So I was like, even just a point of like, could I get, Dell was talking about this, she's the VP at Braid, like the minimum viable discovery. So if I said to a rep, like, what is the minimum discovery you need to do off the back of a cold call? Do I think that the answer would be the same across the 10 reps that I have? I think the answer is no. So how do I create a standardized process around that, and even from an inbound qualification? So no, overall, I took 5 pages of notes. I've already implemented 4 things off the back of the event. I would say that is a success in my eyes of a day well spent, and I'm excited to go to the next one. I think it was also, again, like this podcast, it's just a little bit of therapy sometimes, speaking to someone that does the same gig, and they're just like, oh yeah, we have that issue, or we have this issue.
Yeah,
so it can be sometimes quite needed.
I think it's also nice sometimes to say, oh yeah, like I've been doing it like this. People go like, oh, that's a really cool way of doing it. And you're like, okay, like I'm not going crazy. This is good. That's nice to hear. So no, that sounds really great. I know that David from SDR Leaders of EMEA has also launched an EMEA UK conference at the end for like the end of the year. I think it was like, I think I saw like
similar
September.
To what you did with funnels and Anastasia.
Yes, so I'm looking forward to. I signed up for information for when it actually launches.
Cool. I'll do that as well with you.
I've not been to a BDR management focused conference before, and I think that it would be great to go and actually do that. So there are some good takeaways. I look forward to you sending me that screenshot. Thank you.
Will do. Yeah, I'll send you. I've got loads. I think I took like 10,000 pictures.
Nice.
So and the deck.
So to wrap up, we're going to take someone's call.
Yes. So this is this point of the section where there will be a phone ring eventually. It's just how do I acquire a phone ringing to put into the podcast? So we have a caller. So again, we were going to call it. Can take your call right now, but I feel like it's a bit too long and a bit too samey. So we have a caller.
Ideas.
If anyone's got an idea for this segment, but we have a caller. So Sophie emailed in, and she said, and again, we'll get both of our takes on this. So she's having a problem with the classic like cold call, which is like you're delivering your introduction, you're going into, hey, I've been speaking to like other IT leaders. They're seeing like challenge A, challenge B, challenge C. Does this resonate with you? And she's getting a lot of no's. What would we give advice to that about?
It's a great question. Thank you for sending that in, Soph, because I think every single BDR has probably experienced this.
Yeah, 100%.
First thing I would say is what I always say to the reps. I think this is such a classic. I'm sure most people have heard this, is that when they're like, oh yeah, no, like I haven't. Going, oh, really? That's really surprising. I never really hear that. So are you saying that right now everything is perfect? There's nothing that you'd want to fix? And obviously, again, that's going to go down two avenues. They're going to go, nope, there's nothing that I want to fix. Everything's great. Or obviously they're going to go, oh, like nothing's perfect. And then obviously, hopefully that'll open the conversation up there. If they go like, yeah, like to be honest, like everything is really great, then you go, well, that's really brilliant to hear. So just out of interest, how is this going for you? And then be really specific on one thing that you know pretty much everyone has an issue with. Because the chances are they actually will then open the conversation up a little bit. Sometimes, and it does happen, you just get a prospect who is so happy. So be prepared for that. It doesn't matter what question you ask. It doesn't matter how you frame it. It doesn't matter about your tone of voice or anything. They genuinely are just really happy with what they've got. And even though you know their solution isn't the best in the market, they don't care. So it's okay if you get that, because then what you're doing is disqualifying them. So therefore, you're not going to waste your time with them anymore. So they're my initial points, but Harry, I'd love to hear what you would also suggest.
Yeah, well, I just want to expand on your last point there, right? And so again, I think there's probably a little bit of like the true objection that you may be getting to, like, hey, we're already using the current vendor. I think there's a couple of key things that I think about if that was the objection that you're really getting, like, hey, we're happy, that doesn't, like that, we're going back to the objection of, hey, that doesn't resonate. Why is that? Oh, we're already using a solution in place. What are you using? The key thing that I always say to my reps is you need to understand who the vendor is.
Yeah.
Is it solve? What challenges did they? What challenges did they buy it to solve? Is the sentence I was trying to get out. For some reason, I was swapping like challenge and solve in my head. And then when the renewal is up, and are they going to be going to market upon renewal? So if you can get all of that information, if I said like, for example, for us, like, we're using 1Password, our renewal is up at the end of the year. Yes, it is solving. There are maybe one or two frustrations, or like, is it rolled out to everyone? No. Okay, would you look at rolling it out to everyone? Yes. If you were to roll it out to everyone else, would you go to market to find a solution that could cater for everyone? There's that. Yes. Okay. Would it be okay for me to give you a call back 3 months out from the renewal to see if anything has changed? Yes, fine. And you're just asking for that permission. I then just bang a calendar invite in their calendar, just being like, hey, going to give you a call this time. And that's it. And then you move them into a nurture stream. Coming back to the original question from Sophie, it actually comes back to something that Benjamin Dennehy taught me when me and Lauren went to an event that he was speaking at. My first instinct was to go over to him and do cold calling role plays with him before anyone caught him. And we were just basically role playing problem statements. And one of the things that's always stuck with me since we've done that, it's about the story that you tell. So I think what I teach when I BDR start is to go through like, here's challenge A, here's challenge B, here's challenge C. Does any of that resonate? I think that is a great opener, and probably a lot better open than a lot of other competitive BDRs.
A lot of people just start pitch something, which we don't want to do.
And that's great. But I think the advanced version of that is telling a story. So if I go into, hey, Lauren, it's Harry here calling from LastPass. Lauren, I appreciate I've caught you in the middle of something, but do you have a second for me to tell you what I've called today? Well, Lauren, the reason I giving you a call is because we're speaking to a lot of other IT leaders. And what we're finding is that there's an increasing challenge of not getting visibility into which applications are being leveraged, which is leading to this form of risk and uncertainty about this challenge, which is making people feel X type of way. Or what we're finding is that people have that solved And the other issue that they're dealing with is this, which is leading to this, which is making them feel this. Hey, you're probably going to tell me you've got the world's best solution in place, but did any of that feel familiar to you today? And again, closed question, doesn't matter, but you can go into, I'm just trying to get some form of opt-in. But there's an element of storytelling that I have started to add into my problem statement. Now, there's that part of the advice, but there's also second or third part of this advice, which is like, if you're getting a common thing where I'm calling up Laura and I'm like, people haven't got visibility into applications, people are having to reset passwords, or they are struggling to like share passwords between folders, and everyone's saying no to those. Well, those aren't clearly the problems of the buyers that you're calling. So you might need to tier your problems to the different personas you target, but also they might just not be relevant. And if they're not relevant and you're hearing that, then they're not the three things you need to be saying on a cold call. So a really easy way for you to go and do that is go and figure out of a couple of deals that have previously closed, what was actually the real reason that they bought, and just start to learn those stories and then start seeing if that works. And what you might do is you might have a problem statement A and a problem statement B that you A/B test. And I would write that down on a notebook similar to this. And I would just say problem statement A, tally, 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 and see which one gets you through to as many conversations as possible. And then by the end of that A/B testing, after probably a month, you'll figure out which one is better for you and which one you feel more comfortable. And then it's about digesting that with your manager as to why you think that is working better.
Perfect. I completely agree. I think the crux of it could literally be that the points you're making just actually aren't relevant to anyone. So have a look at that and see what that's saying and adapt and grow from there, basically.
Yeah, 100%. I'm excited to do this segment. We've probably got loads of people that want to send stuff in. So thank you for sending your question in.
Drop us an email, can'ttakeyourcallpod@gmail.com, or message us both either or on LinkedIn, and we will answer your question.
Yeah, indeed.
And that's it. The format.
Well, no, we've got one more thing.
No,
We've got one more thing, which we wanted to spend 5 minutes on.
Go on.
What's the one thing that we want to talk about this week? Like, what's the one thing that we've seen in the market?
Don't we've seen? Okay, yeah, fair enough.
We're still learning, guys. Bear with us.
Okay, so one thing that I'm seeing loads of is about Claude.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring this up is that I think that when you thought about tools to help you automate or find answers, it's ChatGPT. ChatGPT, blah, blah, blah. That's all I've heard for the last year. But in the last few months, especially the last, I would say, 3 weeks, I see so much about Claude. And a couple of examples that I've seen, it's been, hey guys, how are you taking your data and then, e.g., call disposition data, inputting it into Claude, and then Claude is like syncing up to your Slack, and then it's like pushing things through. Like basically, it just clearly
workflows.
Claude does the most incredible workflows that I had no idea. I honestly just assumed that Claude was another version of ChatGPT. I genuinely thought that. And I'm fortunate enough to have the paid version of ChatGPT, and now this week, got it today,
Claude Opus 4.6.
Yeah, the proper paid Claude version. My company are very AI first, so they give us these tools basically. And I'm now looking at Claude and I'm thinking, hello, how can I make my job much better and much easier? So I think I wanted to ask Harry, like, do you know much about Claude? Have you seen anything? Have you used it before? And then also just open it up. I'd love to hear from other people as well. Like, how do you use Claude? What are you doing right now? Because it does.
So do we use it pending?
Nice.
So have I used it? Yes. So I actually used the original Claude, and the original Claude, it used to have some very, 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 very loose parameters on what it could do. As in, like, I was able to do like website scraping. It's now legally, I think, in certain places not allowed to do that. But I created my first ever agent 3.5 years ago for my BDR to do account research. So I developed like what is now skills, I believe, and stuff like that. And you would put in an account name and it would spit a hypothesis, and it would go, here is the cold calling script, here's the voicemail, here's the email. So I built all of that previously. So essentially, I think from a BDR standpoint, some really incredible things that you can do. You need to be thinking about some of the, again, depending on how much time you want to go and spend on it. But I think realistically, there is a world where for your 300 accounts, like it should be able to take, once it's connected to all of the access points that it can. So whether that's like Salesforce, HubSpot, all of your back end pieces, it should be able to say like, okay, I've got these 300 accounts. Which ones should be a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 based on close one data? And what from close one data, what like trends are you seeing that would lead you to think that these are the right accounts? And of course, you give it some very, very strict rulings. Then you could go into like, of these accounts, how would I then go and approach this one account? And then you would type in that account name, and then it would say, here's the research that I've done. Here are the people that are in CRM. Here are the people that are out of CRM. Here's the different messaging that I would then tailor to those individuals based on what I think you're going to be selling. So here's a cold calling script that you need to be focusing on. Here's what, if they don't pick up, here's a voicemail that you should be leaving. You can technically say like, if you had 6 email steps, you can make them all manual and it will automatically personalize every single step of the email already for you. And then if there's any new data that's added that it finds out, it can then change that live. So I think realistically, it's building out what I think is your BDR's workflow end to end. So I'll send you what I've built for my team. I won't share that.
Okay.
But it shows you an end to end of what a BDR has to do in order to create an opportunity, and then almost what it needs to do depending on how the opportunity goes, whether it's no show, rejected, close, loss, close, won, move through stages, then close, loss. And then from there, what I've done is I've highlighted the points where I think Claude could either we create a skill or a workflow that allows us to automate some of that process. So if we find out that a rep is doing 15 minutes of research, well, that would be, what would we do if we could make it 5 minutes? But what information do we need to receive? And then how do they digest that to create some form of messaging? Or do we then get Claude to then take and do the messaging, and they just tweak the observation or the hook line or the call to action or something like that?
Okay.
But no,
well, I'm very interested by it. So
super powerful, and I can't wait to see what some of the things can be created for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely my new mission, is to go and figure out how I can make Claude make my life and my team's lives.
Best place to start is just go into their academy on their website and start doing their courses. So the big thing for me to learn at the moment is I want to learn complex prompt structures and descriptions and instructions so that I can create the guardrails for the skills needed. That's the thing that I really struggle with. I can note everything down, but creating some really, really sophistication, like if you see this, now you need to think about these three type of things. And if you see those 3 things, that you need to think about this. That is the information. Gary Vee always talks about just talking to your phone, and he talks about like creating like half an hour prompts where you have a meeting with yourself and you talk through everything that you want, and you say summarize the meeting and build. So I'm trying to learn how to do that a little bit more scalable, but yeah, super cool.
Nice. Okay, that is it.
The first hour episode. I don't know how you feel. I feel like that was so much more enjoyable to record. I feel like so. we've well, for us, selfishly.
I hope so. I meant the people to listen to it.
No.
So Claude, yes.
There's a lot of content in there, but I think overall it felt very flowy.
I agree. I think this should hopefully be a nice step forward as we're now in our new episode era.
Yes, indeed.
But that is this week's episode. Thank you so much for listening. Please go give us a follow, give us a comment, and give us a rating if you're not already. It obviously does help the podcast in some way or another. So yeah, we'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, and if you, like Lauren said, if you've got any questions that you want answering, like again, then that can dictate sometimes for us the topics of what we talk about across the whole podcast. So we'd massively appreciate that as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Well,
have a lovely rest of your week, Harry.
You too. I will speak to you later on in the week.
Yep. See you later. Bye.
See ya. Bye.